One of the big issues that will be talked about increasingly over the next 5 to 10 years, maybe sooner than that, is addressing this issue of increasing demand from patient communities for access to new and cutting-edge technologies, and the inability of a biotechnology company to be able to do that economically, to make it the right business decision from a regulatory standpoint, to find a way to do that without undermining their clinical development program and trying to get a drug approved as quickly as possible. Right now, there aren't many incentives for a company to do it, and there's usually pressure to focus on doing the activities that will get the drug approved so that all patients can benefit. But as new technologies emerge, especially in diseases where there's nothing else out there, all it will take is one patient responding to a new technology or a handful of patients. We're seeing that with some of the new technologies already. And then you may have an entire patient community that's going to start saying, I want access because I have nothing else out there. And the tension that exists today is the FDA says, well, we have no problem if the company wants to give that drug to the patient for free. But the company doesn't have any real incentive to do that and can somewhat undermine, right, their business goals and objectives. And so it falls on the company to explain that, and that creates this tension that nobody wants to talk about. And I think this is something that isn't going to go away, needs to be addressed through right changes in maybe it's policy, maybe it's allowing a system like occurs in France today, which allows reimbursement with a margin of profit. So a company is almost incented to allow these types of named patient, they call it in Europe, but early access programs. This is why there hasn't been a wholesale adoption of adaptive licensing in Europe, which allows you to recoup just the costs. FDA has a similar program that allows you to justify getting your money at cost, but there's a lot of disclosures. The FDA still has to approve it. So I think this is an area that is not going to go away, and that you will increasingly see this talked about as the next forefront on policy that needs to be addressed. I think it can be a win-win. I think we can find a way to get pharmaceutical and biotechnologies excited about providing early access outside of clinical trials if there's a benefit and if there's a win-win. So if the FDA said that will allow us to use the accelerated approval process more readily, or that will get a safety database that allows us to have more comfort in approving the drug early. Or if we did move to a system like France, which is difficult in this country because we don't have a government, a single payer system, if you found a mechanism where a company could be reimbursed, look, anybody will tell you if you're in a high rare disease where there's nothing else out there, sometimes you're approached by multimillionaires, billionaires, who say, I will pay whatever it takes to get access to that drug for my boy. So there's a market out there, and that is something that could not only be accessible to high net worth individuals, but this could be another mission of foundations. Imagine the ability to raise money as a foundation, knowing that you could help funnel that money, right, to getting early access to the patient community, as opposed to just putting it into early research or helping with clinical trial costs. Because usually when companies are already in the clinical development, they already have mechanisms of funding a product that's in development, typically. So this is an area I think we're going to hear more about, and I think there are thoughtful ways that we can find the right solutions for early access.